Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's watch list. Before we get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the room link in the description of the video and on social media in the bio section. As far as the economic calendar, we have Federal Chair Powell speaking at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, so that will definitely affect the market. So write that down and be aware that Powell will speak this Wednesday at 2 p.m. So that will have an impact. What he's going to speak about, I have no idea. We'll find out then, I guess. Let's see if it gives you due to speak at webinar hosted by the Economic Club of New York. I mean, this doesn't really seem like anything spectacular, but still keep an eye on it. When Powell speaks, the market ends up reacting to it. So I have the bearish side list up first. Not many on there, just a few. Boeing. Boeing had bad ER. And obviously, when you look up at -15, but every time Boeing has bad news, it pops, and every time it has good news, it drops. Boeing's just a real pain in the neck to trade. It just does what it wants. You get a bearish engulfing on the daily. I'm expecting if it can get underneath 206 for a push to the 205, you can get this 202 area. 200 would be a big area for it to support. Then you have a gap fill down here around 197. So if it does get below 200, it's probably going to fill the gap, make a run to 197.50, 195. I mean, if it does for some reason get down below 195, you get this area 190, 192 is pretty big. You get a gap fill right there below 190, then you get a big one right here in the 165 area. So if it does break the 190, it's probably, I would say there's a good chance it's probably going to come down and test this 180, 175 area. I doubt it will fill the gap on the first shot, but who knows? Maybe BA will decide to bounce this week. Now, just because I'm bearish on BA does not mean I won't take calls. I mean, I can change my perspective and my outlook on it really fast based on news or the way it looks technically. I mean, if it does manage to get over 212.15 or 50, I mean, I may end up taking calls on it for a run. So I will flip-flop on my outlook pretty fast based on technicals or news or whatever. So it's not always a hard bearish, but I put the bearish list out there because if it does, the market is weak. These are the ones that have the higher probability of making the biggest drops, and BA definitely think could make a big drop. And the next one is Roku, the same thing. You know, Roku is double topping on the daily. It's divergent. You have a bearish divergence right here. You know, it's flat topping as a double top, but yet the RSI is decreasing, making it a bearish divergence. So we'll have to see if it does do something below 430. Let's say 433 for a push to the 420. Let's say 423 area, 425 area. Now remember, support and resistance is not an exact number; it's an area. A lot of people don't seem to think it's a hard set number, and it's not. Then you get the it does manage to break the 420, 422 area. That you get 410 right here. Then you get the 405, 400. 400 would be a big psychological number, and if that manages to break, you're going to get to probably 390. There's a gap fill right here, a tiny one in the 392 area. So we'll be watching that for sure. I mean, the RSI on the weekly is just so extreme on Roku. It does need to pull back, and I think it's got room to pull back to 330 area if it can ever pull back. But Roku could just keep going. I mean, it could break over the all-time high of 448.17 and go for a 450 plus run, but we'll have to see. Now, I definitely don't want to chase Roku over 450. Same thing with Baidu. Baidu gets to the 270 area, 280 area, right in this 270, 275. It likes to fail. I mean, it has over here, here, and here, and here, like 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I rejected it here, but it did manage to get above it and hold and close. But the levels of the RSI are 81 on the weekly, and I would imagine it's going to pull back. It's mean you get some really big disconnection with price in the moving averages. So especially the RCT trend line. I'm not saying that Baidu is going back to 100 because there's no, but I mean it could definitely go back to the 220 area. If it does get below the 266, I'd watch for a push to 260, 255, then 250 would be a big number. It does break below 250, you got this area right here at 245. Basically all the $5 ranges, 240, 235, and then you get the 232 area, 230, you could say 230. So if it does manage to break the 230, you get another drop right here to the 220 area. So that's definitely possible if Baidu does get weak. Now on the bullish side, I have Tesla. Now Tesla has been Tesla's been consolidating right in the 850 to 875 area. So usually what happens is whenever Tesla gets like doing this, like consolidating, it likes to make a huge push afterwards. So I think it does break out if it gets over 880. So, you know, if you want to grab it over 862 for push to 880, 900 would be the big psychological number. And if 900 breaks, it's probably going to end up going to 1,000. I mean, Tesla just loves to break out. I mean, look at right here. It's been sitting consolidating in this area. Then it just went from 460 to 600 in a week and a half. So that's quite possible that I could end up doing that again. So definitely have to watch Tesla. Now Fedex is another one. Now Fedex, I mean, I do like it over the 256 area. Now I like it for a couple of reasons. One is it's oversold on the weekly, and usually the weekly is pretty good when it tells you it's something's oversold and it's ready for a bounce. Now on the hourly is showing it's pretty extreme, so I would not be surprised if Fedex pulls back to like 250 before rocketing. I mean, it could keep going, but usually they'll let some air out before it makes a big run. But I do like it over the I'll say the 256 area. If it does get over 256, it's probably going to go to 260. Then you get this area 270. Then you get 275. And up to 275, you get 280. Basically $5. Every $5 is going to be big resistance on the daily. So, but it's got room to 280, even possibly 300 on Fedex. So this is basically what I'm looking for on Baidu and Roku. You know, it just had these extreme levels and it just pulled back some. So I'm looking for the same thing on them to look like Fedex a little bit. But then Lululemon is another one, LULU. Now it's just been sitting in this little 330. I mean, it gets underneath 320. It likes to bounce, so it's possible to get back down to 320 before it makes a bounce. But I definitely would get it over. Let's see, 336, or even 337. Over 337, we'll push to 340, 343, 344 area, and then you get 350. So 351, 350 areas, it's pretty big. So yeah, it gets over the 340, 345, 350, 355, and 360. It's really not much. Yeah, there's a little bit right there in 360, 50-ish area, 363, 370s. But when Lululemon starts getting strength, it has a big reversal, it ends up being strong. I mean, look at these candles. I mean, it makes a huge run from 363 to 387. So Lululemon is due for a big run day. If it does manage to break over these levels, like I said, of 340 plus, that they could have a big 15-20 point day. So I would definitely watch Lululemon for that to happen. Qcom is another one. Another good earnings that just got hammered on. So As you can see on the weekly, it's got support right here in the 145 area. Even though it's finished down just a tiny bit on Friday, but usually you get the 3-day rule. I mean, Monday could be, tomorrow could be a slightly red day or a slightly flat day before it ends up reversing. It does get over the 147 area. It's going to push to 148, 150. 150 would be the big psychological area, but if it doesn't drop anymore and it starts to rebound tomorrow, it should break through 150 on the first shot and probably try to go for a gap fill. Now we'll have to see if that happens. I mean, look right here when it has these big gap downs, it just consolidates for a few days before it makes its run up. So it could be a good long-term play. I got shares in it, so I'm good with the shares. I don't care about the daily fluctuations on if you're holding shares, but options, stuff like that will end up killing it. Theta will end up killing you. But yeah, but if it gets over 150, it could have a strong move to 155, then 160, then 162.50 will end up being the one that fills the gap. So then you got Nvidia. Okay, why didn't that type? Okay, there we go. Nvidia is just chopping and chopping and chopping right in on the weekly. The daily is just stay in this 515 to 555 area, and I think that if it manages to get over this, you could say even over 547 if you want. Yeah, 547 gets over 547. It's going to push to 550. Then you get 555 now. This is where it struggles in the 555 area. If it does manage to get over that, 560 is where it's been rejecting. But if it gets over 560, this thing could end up taking off and going back up to the all-time highs, which is in the 590 range on the weekly. So, yeah, 560, then 580, then you get to 590. So, definitely something to worth watching on Nvidia. So, Facebook is another one. Facebook has just been... it's just been sitting in this area. The market is just like a lot of these stocks are just idling and waiting for something to happen. So I think that we're going to get probably a pullback on SPY and these stocks probably mid-February, but we'll have to see. And what the catalyst will be for a pullback, I have no idea. It could be something like Taiwan or something that Fed does or something that Biden does or stimulus or something could end up happening that's going to end up sending the market into a frenzy. I shouldn't say frenzy, but into a correction. So I would watch. I mean, you get like a little ascending triangle right here on the hourly, right there. You can see it pushing up, making lower highs, and it's flat topping in the 469 area, but it does get over the 270, push to 275, 277, 280, 285 would be the big area. Now, if it does manage to get over 285, you get 290s. Then after 290, you get this 293, 295 area. Then you get 300. So I think that Facebook is due for a nice big pop. It hasn't had one. It's been like it's had drops right here from earnings, and it's just been consolidating the last few days. So I think it's due for a nice big run over 270 for a push to 280, 285. So I would definitely watch Facebook. Netflix, I mean, Netflix is... Okay, wait for Netflix to pull up. Netflix, I mean, it's at the higher end of the channel. I mean, it popped up on earnings. It came back and retested this breakout area, and which was resistance, now support. As you can see, this 535 acted as resistance, and it rejected these areas right here and here. Now it came back and retested it, and it started to go up. Now you can also say this is a bear flag, and it could come back down and keep dropping, which it could. So, but like I said, I could change my position in a heartbeat based on a lot of things like technicals and news and stuff like that. But right now I'm looking at it. If it gets over 553, it's probably going to push to 560 to the 570 area, then 580. And if it does manage to get over 580, you get 590. So if you look on the weekly, it chops between this 575 and this 475. I know that's a 100-point thing. 100-point range, but that's what it's been doing lately. It's just chopping in this in this area. So we'll have to see if Netflix is actually going to break out or if it's going to fall apart. Now, if Netflix does fall apart, I mean, you can watch it underneath the 575 area for push to 530, 35, and it gets below 535, you get the 530. And if it breaks below that, you get the gap fill from earnings, and that's down to 510, 505 area. So it's possible that it could end up going either way, but I think that it'll probably end up going popping up. I think the market will probably have another week or two of strength before we have something that retraces the market. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if SPY goes to 390 or even 400 before it ends up turning around. 400 would be the big psychological number. I think if it gets to 400, it's going to be shorts are going to pile in and crush it. But I mean, it had a red candle on Friday, but I would be a bit surprised if it gaps up over the weekend and we end up being in the 390 area tomorrow. And maybe if we do gap up to 390, that we have a gap and crap tomorrow. So that's quite possible that could happen with SPY. But I mean, when SPY gets to these double tops, they like to overshoot. You know, right here, everyone was probably shorting at the 385 area, which I think I was too. And then it just overshoots it and has a short squeeze and has stuff like that. So SPY has a tendency to keep doing that, and it doesn't always have a hard double top and just reverse. It likes to overshoot or undershoot and throw off traders and stuff like that, because that's the whole point of the game, is to misdirect and fool everybody, make everybody lose money, and that's just the nature of the beast. And I think that if we get above 390 tomorrow, that we probably could see a pop and drop. So that's going to do it for the watch list. Now you know what I'll be watching. Like I said, I'll be changing my outlook fast based on what happens overnight and the way it looks. So if you're not in the room, you should be. And please like and subscribe. And that's going to do it. Thank you for watching.